Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube world, and welcome to Pete's Plastic Playground. The second edition of videos from my little man cave at home here. Um, I posted my first video last week, and really thank you to all those that have watched and commented and indeed subscribed as well. It's all very flattering and very encouraging. So many thanks indeed for that. I've replied to a lot of comments, and we'll finish the rest in due course, and also look through other people's videos more. It all takes a fair bit of time, and good opportunity to sit quietly and have a flick through YouTube and see what everybody else is doing, as I really like to do. Well, I hope everybody's had a good week despite the rain. Autumn's coming now, so we get to spend a bit more time out, and the long dark evenings have arrived. So we can. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the camera. All I'm doing is using the my phone, which is in selfie mode, on my tripod. So doing the best I can. It's only the front-facing camera on my Xperia smartphone, but it seems to pass muster okay. So just a few things to ramble on about this week, and I think next time it will be enough showing stuff in new boxes and this, that and the other. I think next week we'll actually get on and build a kit together, and actually get on with what it's all really about. I'm in the mood to build my Douglas Devastator that I picked up fairly cheaply last week. But you know what it's like. You kind of your moods change, don't they? And when you might be in the mood to do a particular model, and when it comes to it, you think, oh, I don't know, I'll put it back in the box for another day and choose something completely different. I've done that more than plenty of times. So, Richard, a couple of things to talk about today. I'm really lucky in so much as my job takes me around the country. I work in the bathroom game. I go and see people that need an adapted bathroom if they're getting on a bit, and I go and visit my customers all over the country. And the big benefit of that is that, of course, a lot of towns have got a model shop, and as was the case on Friday, I found myself down in Portsmouth, so I nipped into Fratton Model Centre, found it on Google, and managed to get parked quite nearby. And it's superb in there. It's it's the sort of model shop I like, where it's not one of these places where it's all nice and pristine and everything's in order. It's a little bit of a jumble sale in there, which is quite nice. He's got an extensive selection of plastic models, and the man in there tells me that he's got a big order of Airfix, new Airfix, coming next week. He proudly told me that it was £2,500 worth of Airfix coming, and I said, "Oh, that's a shame. I've only got £2,000." So, but whether he meant £2,000, his order value is £2,000, which in terms of retail will be a bit more, or whether it's £2,500 in retail. But anyway, whatever it is, it will be a lot of Airfix kits in stock. And I suppose if anybody's in striking distance and they're looking for a new Buccaneer, he may well have one in his shop next week. So while I was in there, I only brought two things. I've been after a razor saw for a while, so I brought myself a razor saw, and I need this for my 124 Sea Harrier. It's one of the ones where you've got to cut the fuselage off what is, I think, a GR3 Harrier, and then stick the Sea Harrier cockpit on instead. So I've brought the razor saw ready for that. But I brought myself a little kit in there of a North American Harvard trainer plane. And the reason I bought it is that we get one over here a few times every weekend. There's one based at the local airfield, and for a good chunk of cash, I think it's about £1,500, you can go up for a jolly in it, and one day I shall. I'll when I found myself with a big chunk of mad money, and I'm in a position to do it, I would love to fly in that old aeroplane, not least because of the sound of the engine. Now I know it would sound different up in the plane, but when I hear it going over, I just close my eyes and imagine that you're at a naval airbase somewhere in America, and these aircraft are buzzing around all the time. The engine's got this wonderful burbling sound to it, and it's you can hear it I suppose when it's over here, it's at about 2,500, 3,000 feet, and it dominates the sound in the village. So the North American Harvard, an old kit. I think this one dates from the early 80s, and going by the box anyway, and the state of it inside. I only paid him a few quid for it, as he's got a lot of second-hand models in there, so there's a good choice. Inside, the kit itself looks like it should have come free with a packet of cornflakes, really. But it's just a load of yellow plastic, which and it's a fairly basic kit of its time, with raised panel lines and bobbly rivets. I'm not going to try and do anything other than build it and build it to represent the aircraft that I see fairly frequently over home. So I'm not going to go to town with it at all. If it looks anything like that on the box, which is similar in appearance to the one that I see very often, then I'll be happy with that. The instruction sheet has gone nice and brown. Looks like it's been stained with tea. So it's just one sheet of instructions with a little write-up on it. One of the most famous trainer aircraft ever designed. The Harvard continues to fly many of the world's air forces. So this is back in the 80s. I don't suppose it does now. The Americans called it the Texan. And anyway, there's a little write-up on it. The engine is a Pratt and Whitney Wasp radial. So the next time it goes over, I'll know that. And it does refer to its distinctive noisy sound. And so there we are. Great little set of instructions. Look at that. Couldn't be easier, could it? And a nice colour scheme to follow on the back with a couple of alternatives. The decals are fairly manky. Well, in actual fact, I say that the paper, they're still under the protective tissue paper, which is faded, but underneath the decals aren't that bad. I got a feeling somebody said to actually put them in your front room window, or the window that gets the most sun, and expose them to the sun for a few days before you try and put them on, and it brings them back. But look, under the tissue paper, they're still quite bright. So we'll see. Anyway, I've got some alternative decals for a Harvard in my box of bits somewhere. Cockpit canopy's nice, so that's fairly simple. I should make a. I was just saying to a mate earlier on, my Achilles heel with models is cockpit canopies, and no matter how careful I am and whatever a good job I try and do with the masking, I never get it as nice as those that you see at an exhibition, but I'll try my hardest on this, I promise. So that's the North American Harvard that's now in the stash. The new mag came out this week, Airfix Model World, and it's all about the MiG-21, but what I was really taken by was this little article on the Revell Hudson that's come out, and I really like the Coastal Command colour scheme. I've got a Sunderland up there, and I've got a Whitley that I intend to do in the Coastal Command colours, and I'm eagerly awaiting the Wellington, which I promise when the Wellington comes out, the Coastal Command version of the Wellington comes out, that really will go straight onto the workbench and be built, because I'm really taken with that. But anyway, so this has driven me to take this old Hudson down from the stash. Again, it's something that I got in the 80s. It's an old Airfix one, and fairly sterile artwork, and a price tag from Beatties of £1.45. Look, you imagine that. So I really stretched the budget that time. I'm going to open it up because I haven't looked in here for a while. Again, everything's in the bag. Oh no, the bag's open. But it's this lovely old silver plastic. Oh, it's dark grey silver plastic that Airfix came out with. So I'm probably not going to buy the Revell one unless I see it and I get a whim to buy it. But I've decided that sooner rather than later I shall have a go at this old Hudson and do it in that Coastal Command colour scheme, and I think that's an interesting subject. Again, it's old 1980s instructions in blueprint this time, a real blueprint, nice and clear for a gauzy-eyed old sod like me with fading eyesight and so on. I'm not sure how convincing that little cutout for the instrument panel is. I don't know if I'll bother with that, or probably try and have a go at painting something on. I quite enjoy the interior detail. I tend to take a little bit of time over that and make it look good, if not spot on accurate. But this is a decent model. It's a nice size aircraft model. Again, it's of its age, and it is what it is. It's an old Airfix kit, and so the quality it goes to match it. So yes, there'll be lots and lots of bits to carve off with a sharp knife and so on and so forth, but I think you could make a reasonable fist of that model anyway. So that's the Hudson, inspired by this week's Airfix Model World. So I'll put those to one side. I just got a few bits out to show you this week anyway. And then the last thing to go with this week, just a little yarn to tell you. I did my next door neighbour a little favour, and did some work for her, and I wouldn't take any money for doing it because she's a lovely lady, and it's, you know, I enjoy helping people out. Anyway, she very kindly gave me some vouchers for the local model shop, which is just down the road, and some gift vouchers for 30 quid. So I went down there and came home with this. Now, I've got 3 of these Dakotas. I've got the C-47 Skytrain that Airfix bought out about 5 or 6 years ago, and then the other one I've got is the Dakota with the Willys Jeep. That's up there in the stash as well. That one in actual fact came from TK Maxx for about 15 quid, so that was a real bargain. But I had it in mind to send off to Airfix for this one using my what do you call them, flying hours tokens, which I'm fortunate enough to have a few of. But it was on the shelf, so I brought it home with me. So I just thought we'd have a quick look inside, because I haven't opened any of the other Dakotas yet. So if I can get my act together and actually get in through the tape, we'll have a little look. There we are. I love opening a new box for the first time. There's no feeling like it, is there? I remember last year I brought that 172 scale Lightning. Oh, which variant is it that came out last year? Is it an F6 or something like that? In a fairly small box. I took the lid off and it was absolutely packed to the gunnels with plastic and instructions, and it was a real good feeling to open it because it was heavy and it felt like you had a lot for your money in there, which, you know, as we all know, that Lightning is a great kit. So I'll just get my act together and pull the lid off of this. Oh, it's tight. That is really tight for some reason. Oh, here we go. I will just tell you that my lad, as a lot of kids do these days, he's got a little channel of unboxing his collection of figures and things, and he was filming a video in here earlier on, and he took the character out of its box and its head fell off. So that wasn't quite as disastrous as that. So there we are. Right, so bag full of bits. Looks like there's half a dozen sprues of plastic in there. I will open it. We'll open it carefully. I should have used a different knife. This one's rubbish. Lordy mama. Trusty old scissors instead. Fight your way out of a paper bag. Okay, right. I've got no qualms about opening these plastic bags. I know it sort of devalues them, and as I referred to in the last video, I'll probably never build most of these kits in my life. It's all part of having a collection. My wife is under strict instructions that if I do happen to get written off along with a car one day, it's a fairly dark subject to address, but there is a local Air Cadets, and I'd like them to have all the kits. Because I know there's a lot of the kids like to build model kits, and they do that as an activity. So the sprue here with wings, elevators, rudders and so on, and a very, very nice fuselage. Look at that, it's a lovely fuselage moulding. That is superb, that's very, very nice. And sorry, I didn't really show that to the camera very well, did I? I apologise for that. I'm still getting used to this lark. As you can see, it's very nicely set out on the runners, isn't it? Easy to see what's what. Put that one there. I'll take the book out. Just put that in there for now. Next one, same as before. Another fuselage section. The nice, nice bit where the engines are going to go, and lower section of the fuselage, and where the gear are going. Rudder. Bulkhead, a ramp, looks like a ramp for the doorway, and undercarriage sections as well. Lovely wingspan, look at the size of that, isn't that gorgeous? For a 172 kit, that's really nice, isn't it? And again, great surface detail on there. I don't know if you can see it with my dodgy camera, but the surface detail is excellent on there. How's that? Okay. And then there's the teeny weeny parts that we all love. Nice undercarriage legs, and the oleos represented there. Bulkhead sections, air screws. I never know whether to call them air screws or propellers, but you know what I mean. little control column handles as well. That's nice. So that's that. That's number 4, isn't it? That's yeah, screw number 4 and 5, and this is the 5th and last one of the grey plastic. Alternative air screws, interesting, different variant. Interior benches, so that's nice to have that included. Engines, seats and so on. Control, I don't know what they are, control columns maybe, and a spar for the wings as well. So that's that. And then there's a nice clear plastic sprue as well for I love the windscreen of the Dakota, a bit like the B17. It's got this very nice, of its age, sort of almost an Art Deco appearance. The shape of it and so on is really of its age. It's a great design. As I say, the B17 is the same. It just looks like an old American car, really. Decal sheet inside the Destructions. I think when the great day comes, I do fancy this variant. There's a variant for a military version based in the Middle East, or maybe even Malta, I don't know, I haven't read the side yet. You can have a little look there. I expect a lot of you are familiar with this kit. So let's have a little look. Royal Air Force Bari, Italy, 1944. So there we are, a wartime variant for that as well, which I've done a green one. I've done a military one already. So I do fancy that air transport livery, RAF Air Transport, Royal Air Force Middle East. It looks like an airliner, doesn't it? It's absolutely superb. Extensive and comprehensive decal selection. Really nice and crisp and clear, and giving you a good choice in what to do. Put the protective cover back on that, and the instructions. Again, another great booklet. Looks like there's 64 stages in all to put this kit together. Really very well detailed, and quite interesting that the glazing goes on last. So that's obviously not flush then. So that's good. That'll be nice and easy to make. That'll make painting nice and easy for sure. Stencil Data. I have started bothering with stencils. I know a lot of people, especially on modern jets, find that a bit tedious, but I think if the stencils are there, put them on, because it does complete the model nicely. Colour scheme is, as I said before, my choice would be the nice grey and white or silver and white finish. I think that looks absolutely stunning, and again a nice clear representation of the aircraft as it will be when we're finished. Middle East Communication Squadron, Royal Air Force, Cormac Azar, Aden, Yemen, 1967. So that's nice. Good. Excellent. So look forward to one day building this kit, and as I say, just a new acquisition today, very kindly using the proceeds of a gift from my lovely neighbour next door in return for doing a little job for her. So I'm very lucky. As I said to you, next time I'll do a bit of modelling. I think just sitting natural way while I'm gluing some plastic together. I'll put the Dakota away properly after you've gone. Yeah, next time, I fancy the Devastator to build it, so perhaps have a little chat while I'm building that next time, maybe next Sunday. Sunday seems to be the day for doing this for me. Thank you for watching last week. Just a quick footnote actually, my dear mate over the road, Tony, sadly his dad passed away. Big coincidence, because in the last episode I spoke to you about, I mentioned HMS Eagle for the new Buccaneer build, and coincidentally my mate's dad served on HMS Eagle, so we're having a little chat about that earlier on when he came over, and so a happy memory there. That's it I think for this second edition, and your second visit to Pete's Plastic Playground. I'm sure you can hardly bear the excitement, but anyway, I'll be back next time. Thank you again, really, most sincerely, for watching, and for the comments, the kind comments that have been made, and the amount of subscriptions has been very warmly welcomed. And as I say, I shall reciprocate in due course, because I recognise now what a strong modelling community this is, and if I can be part of that, then I'll be very happy to be among your number. And as I say, I think I must make time to watch other people's channels, and I'm sure it's a great way of picking up some hints and tips on modelling, and enhancing the kit building that I do, which, as I said before, is to a very basic standard, but I'm always happy to learn and pick up whatever hints and tips I can. So that's it from me, from Pete's Plastic Playground. Trip over my words. So all the best, have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.